It's all very well making loads of fights for a very big show, and that's the case on the 18th of September up in Birmingham. But you've got to keep them in bed. You've got to make sure they stay there, and also you've got to put them together in the first place. So you know what? There's only one man I need to speak to, and that's Dean Powell, the matchmaker for Frank Warren. And I managed to grab hold of Dean a little bit earlier on. He was on a bus, and I had to check. The first thing I said to him was, Dino, these fights will all happen, won't they?
Well, at the moment, not having to, I think everything looks in good shape at the moment.
Dean, in your years in the business, it's a lot of years, son, and I like to think I've been there since the very first days, way back in Dudley, a million trillion years ago.
Since the old train station.
Since the old train, it's probably gone, that train station. They've done away with steam.
Still there.
Dina, let me ask you this. What's the worst night you've ever had, or the worst 3 or 4 days before a show that you've ever had with fights falling out of bed? What's the worst? How many have you lost?
The worst in one syllable. Danny Williams.
Oh, this is when... you tell the story, then. You tell the story. I know this story. It's great. Go on.
Our first show back on ITV, Amir Khan and Danny Williams main event with Matt Skelton.
Yep.
Danny weighs in, everything's lovely. Everybody normally always goes out for a meal the night before a show.
Yeah.
I was trying to make a 4-round fight for the undercard, and I was a bit tired, so it was a lovely summer's night. So I'm sat in my room overlooking the Bolton pitch.
Beautiful.
I'm just sitting there with a nice sandwich and a nice glass of Chablis, and I get a call at 10 o'clock from Andy Haley, and he says to me, "You all right?" And I said, yeah, of course. Why, what's that? He said, "You won't be in a minute." He said, "Danny Williams is out." And I said, "Yeah, okay." And he started with F and ended with F, and I put the phone down. And he phones me back, and he said, no, he's really out." And I said, "Yeah, okay." And I repeated my previous sentence.
Yep.
And then 2 minutes later, Frank called me, and he went, "He ain't joking, he's out."
Oh, no. So you got less than 24 hours to give a top of the bill.
Steve, it was 10:15 the night before.
23 hours.
And we worked through the night. And eventually I got hold of Richard Poxon at 5:30 in the morning, and he went and got hold of Mark Crench and dragged him out of his butcher's shop, and he turned off. That is probably the worst experience I've ever had.
Because what makes that worse, of course, it was Amir's debut, if I'm not mistaken, and it was Frank Warren's return onto ITV. So there's guaranteed to be 6 or 7 million people watching, and they do want to see some kind of title fight, especially Danny Williams. He's the man who only a couple of years earlier had beat Mike Tyson, for God's sake.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, Steve, Mickey Duff used to have a great saying, "If it was easy, we'd all be doing it."
Yeah, and we'd all be good at it.
Yeah. And I remember, just first thought to myself was, well, you know what, it's no good panicking and screaming and shouting at anybody. You just got to get on with it and do it. And we worked through the night between Frank and myself, and we got it together in the end.
That was a great saving fight. Now the great thing about this, Bill, is that, I mean, you say there's 9 title fights on it, and 4 or 5 or 6 of them I really fancy. There's a couple that are perfectly okay, but there's some I really fancy, like Macklin and like Barker and like Sexton and like Chisora. So if you were to look at this build, Dean, what do you think, looking at it? What could you not afford to lose under any circumstances? In your mind, as a fan, take yourself out of your role as the matchmaker. Think about it as a fan.
Steve, you know what? I don't really think we can afford to lose any of them, because
the correct answer.
It's a great pay-per-view event. It's got to work. It's got to be successful. For Frank's put a huge investment into this, and all the fights need to take place for it to make it happen. Yeah,
and listen, let's hope they do. Now, Dino, could I ask you, sometimes when you're at ringside, Dean, you've made the fights. How often in any night do you just switch off in your head and get off your phone and watch a fight and enjoy it? How often does that happen, Dean?
Normally when I'm at somebody else's show.
Your show's always waiting for some dilemma, some bit of chaos.
Well, you know what, Steve? You make the fights the best way that you can, or the best way that you're allowed to.
Yeah.
And with the best will in the world, anything can go wrong. So somebody can get cut, or can be an injury. Your heart's always in your mouth, really.
And listen, that's the best place for it. Now listen, Dean, enjoy the rest of your bus there. Are you on the 68?
Yeah, times are hard, Steve. I'm on the 68, and I'm just arriving outside George the Taylor's in Walworth Road. So I'm.
You're nearly home. Dean Powell, it's a pleasure talking to you. Dino, speak to you soon. Enjoy your summer.
Take care, Steve. Bye, mate.